All right. Hi, Dondi.
Hi, Dondi.
It's the Rileys. Ignore any sounds of rain or other conversation. We are currently waiting in line to meet someone from a TV show. So we thought this was a good time as any to record our video. You could go first.
Okay, so we've been working mostly with Python. We haven't learned too much new stuff because we've been off for one of the days. I don't remember what we did last time, but
It was Tuesday last time?
Yeah.
It was Python. We learned the data structures.
Okay, so more data structures, Python, that's been really interesting. I'd been struggling with Python more than JavaScript, and I think it's just because Khan Academy is able to hold your hand so well that this has been a better experience of actually helping me understand and learn and how to do the thinking by myself, because you're almost forced to. Me and Nishant have been doing Blackjack as our game, and he figured out how we could code the cards actually with dashes and then scores across. So we were working together and planned it out on the whiteboard how it would look like, and we figured that out. And then doing the guess your number game was really helpful too, because figuring out how to have the numbers you have and the randomization, and then being able, we're still working on it, but I think it's gonna end up being a good game, and I think it's been an interesting experience. I'm looking forward to tomorrow's class of being able to work on it in class, because we have a few questions. I really like doing the actual in-class lab sessions, because that's where I really feel I learn the most, is just by practicing it and forcing myself to do it. So yeah, that's my recap of what we learned.
Yeah, I mean, I think recap is essentially the same. I think the data structures yesterday, specifically for the cooking game that Sam and I are doing, is going to be mind was blown because of how much that I was just imagining all the different possibilities that we could have done with that. And specifically for what we're doing, the guess your number games, both the computer player and the human player, have been really helpful in terms of coding a loop, what to do, if they try to break the game, or just kind of how to run it in efficient code, has been something that's really, really helpful for me. I actually, unlike you, I like Python a lot better than I do JavaScript. I think the Khan Academy people really just were annoying to me. So I appreciate that this feels more like a real coding environment, so to speak. The fact I don't know, Python just seems much more like a real language to me.
Yeah.
I could just type a sentence and the computer is going to make it happen. I have this little part if the ingredient is not, it literally says if ingredient not in ingredient list, and I'm that's just English. I'm just talking to this computer and telling it what to say to me, and JavaScript doesn't necessarily feel that as intuitive as that to me. I think HTML and CSS are the ones that have been the hardest for me to get the grasp on, just because, I mentioned in my last video, it seems it's a totally different, base language, and you mentioned in your feedback, I don't remember exactly what the kinds are, but I think it would be interesting just to explore that a little bit more, but maybe not until after the game is due. I think I agree with Riley. I learn the most in the lab sessions that we do, because I think it gives us an opportunity for all of us to struggle with the things we struggle with individually the most, and get individualized help as much as you possibly can there. And especially I know Sam and I are facing a couple of issues right now with loops in our game, and just kind of how to make those work in the most efficient way, while also trying to balance our data structures and learning kind of the most efficient way to use that. I think at the same time, I also would really like to learn about if there are other more simple data structures that you can teach us. That would be really helpful. I think just to be able to change those on the fly as they go. Yeah, I think the biggest difference between what we were saying, I think, is just our preferred language.
Yeah, I think because Python is almost cleaner, less complicated, I feel I'm always missing something, which scares me, because especially in JavaScript, it's all about the semicolons and making sure, and all the structure thing. I do in Python though that the structure is built in, so you have to do that. I do feel Python code is easier to read than JavaScript. It's just harder, I think, personally for me, because learning it in this platform just is like
They throw
more
you right in there.
Yeah, and I think too because I've been at a bit of a slower pace than the rest of the class that like I've been too scared to try and like code when we're all on the same like thing together. Like I don't want to try because I don't like I feel a little bit behind. But I liked the HTML thing too. I think all the website stuff was cool. I think it'd be interesting like maybe after the Game for Future project to like make a website, and that might be a cool way to explore like the HTML,
Class
CSS.
project. Everyone works together.
Yeah, we all work together as
Using
one
all
cool
of them
website.
to put a little basic website together. That could actually be a cool final project.
I think that'd be really fun to like make a website.
That would be really fun.
Yeah.
Wow. I just had like a vision of the future.
Could all put our games on the website too, and just be like,
Oh my god, a
here's
mini
link to-
gaming website.
Donnie,
that would be so cool.
yeah, I think maybe for like where we go in the future, I think website design is really nice. I'd be interested to learn more about like AI, and the data mining and stuff was really interesting because like when I was listening to Cameron talk, like my biggest thing, and I agree with you here, Donnie, that like because it's like people using the data, it's like inherently almost like a moral thing. It just sounds like the same gun argument where they're like, well, people don't like guns don't shoot people do, but you're like, well, people are using this tool to do that.
Should be restricted. I think the AI is something really interesting.
Like ethics.
I originally came into the class really wanting to learn more about web design, but I think like a lot of what we've learned with HTML and CSS, though I'm not as familiar with it, it seems like learning website design seems something that would come intuitively to me. And I think I would really like to learn more about AI, and I feel like what we're doing at this point is like maybe not like machine learning, but like we're essentially like if you're doing an in-fiction game, it's like someone is speaking to you from these certain amount of responses based on what you do. So it feels like it's like the lightest version of AI you can possibly make, and I think that's something that I'm really, really enjoying. I think it's definitely something that is interesting to me, more interesting to me than I anticipated it being, and I'm actually less interested than I anticipated being in the website design, which is not exactly what I was expecting to get out of this class. So it's definitely something cool for me.
Yeah. Also, the perspective too of when you were saying that like it's not necessarily that the computer is smart, but it's that like we make the computer smart by like making it do things, and like being able to have like our ideas put into it. And I think that was like an interesting perspective on like AI too. That it really is. So it really is like a human invention and like human interpretation of like what AI can do. And so it'd be interesting like further ethics of it, or like where it's planning on going in the future, because like I can see how it'd be super beneficial to like have all this AI, but then also like the drawbacks are pretty obvious too.
I think I would want to hear just like I know just beyond my scope of knowledge that AI is being used in a lot of interesting ways that I just have no idea about, and like can imagine beyond like the traditional stuff of what people think. So I think learning about that kind of stuff is something that I would be interested to hear more about. Do you have any questions really going forward? I think I just have like specific code questions on like essentially what's happening right now is we have a loop that's going and is supposed to break when a condition is entered, and I've tried to do what should traditionally make that happen in Python, but it's not working and I don't know why. So that I think once I figure that out, Sam and I are essentially good on our game, and we just have to input our text and figure out some like dice rolling stuff.
Yeah, I think similar just questions about our game, and then just always like further practice is helpful, I think, for me to really make it more like muscle memory, because it is like learning an entirely new language. So the more you practice it and the more you like get it in your head, the easier it is to like recall it for when you're trying to do like different projects and avenues with the coding. So
yep. All right, that's it.
Thank you. Bye.
Riley's clocking out.